So, let me see. Let's go through our weekly ritual. Let's see on my left. Practically, let me see. Is there anyone who is new for the first time? I think everybody have introduced yourself before? Yeah, okay. How about on the right? Today, I think all the season, okay. The lady in the blue, have you introduced before? The two of you, I think, have not introduced yourself. Yes. Tell us your name and how you got to know about this group. The mic is coming. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ziqian, the tree president brought me here today.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Priscilla. I've actually been here 2 weeks ago, so I've introduced myself before. And I'm recommended here by my sister. She's not here today.
I see.
Her name is Ify.
Okay, good. Welcome. All right, so welcome to SGC. We have the program at 1 p.m. to about 3. So we start off with a short puja and then short meditation and not so short Dhamma sharing. Yeah. So today we're going to share on something close to heart. Refuges in our lives. Yeah. Refuge. Let's see. Okay, let me just prepare this a bit. So, how many of you have taken refuge? Oh, okay, quite a good number. And how many of you have not taken refuge? Oh, most equal numbers. Thank you. So interesting. Refuge. How many of you have taken refuge for, let's say, between less than 1 year? Okay. Above 1 year to, let's say, 3 years. 1 to 3 years. Okay. 3 to 5 years. 5 to 10 years. 10 years to 15 years. 15 years and above. How many years have you taken refuge? Secondary school. 14, 15 years ago.
14, 15 years ago.
Oh. Nice. Okay, 14, 15 years old. Should I ask like how many years ago was that?
I'm 64 now.
Well done. 64. Wow, that's a whopping 50 years ago. Wow. I took refuge when I was 10. Yeah. I remember one day, my mom just and asked me that, yeah. That's basically just told me that my second sister was going to take refuge and whether I would like to take refuge or not. Yeah, and that was it. I was like, okay. No idea what refuge was, really. Yeah. Although I remember that my mom actually kind of explained to me a little bit. Yeah. Not much. And went for the ceremony. It was under Wu Feng Zhanglao. Not Wu Kong Zhanglao, okay? Wu Feng Zhanglao. And it was in Telukura. Sim 师傅 I say 我是兄弟啊 I say Yeah, Alexandra coin thing. Oh, so you followed to. Ah, okay. Ah, well done. So then later on he moved to Alexandra. Oh, that's really far. I remember when he moved to Alexandra, like every time we go, it was a super long journey, especially when you take the bus. Oh, it just go round and round and round. So by the time we reached there, we were half gone already. Yeah. So that day, my second sister and me, yeah, we took refuge, and then we had this goodie bag, plastic bag. It's those with a zip thing, yeah, and then a piece of paper, and then the chanting beads, yeah. Yeah, the booklet thing, yes. So refuge for me back then, it was a very big concept. Yeah, it was just going through this ceremony really. Yeah, but of course, a few years later, when we took up religious knowledge, then we learn about the technical definition of what refuge means. Yeah, what exactly is refuge? So, again, what is the date today? 17. Do you know what day? What is today's date? Like, yes. Yeah, today is a very special day. Not because it's Louis' birthday. Yeah. Today will only come by once. Today will only come by once. 17th of September 2017 will only come by once. In our current Western calendar, it will only happen once. In fact, every day will only happen once. Until one day somebody decide to reset, start from year one again. Yeah, I don't know, but what if? Yeah, then you have to wait for 2,000 years and 17, and then 9 months, assuming if the calendar still uses 12 months, and then wait for the 17th day. Then this day will come again. Yeah. We often think of it as just another day, and sometimes people will talk about some special combination, or 9th of September or 20th of 17 month. Okay, no 17 month. Yeah. So sometimes when people take refuge, they look for some special days also. Yeah. Today I want to start off with talking about refuge as a word. Yeah, refuge as a word, not in the Buddhist sense. Yeah, not in the Buddhist sense. Typically, how many of you ever used the word refuge in your day-to-day speech? Anyone? So this is the interesting thing, because as much as it's an English word, most of us don't really use it. Yeah, the word refuge. But when I say refuge, oh, okay. Thank you. So when we say the word refuge, what other words come to mind? Are there other words that come to mind? Another word that comes to mind would be refugee. Yeah. What is the meaning of refugee? It's just an English word. This is not Buddhist term. So as an English word, what does refugee mean? Someone who is seeking shelter. Yeah? Seeking shelter. For many of us, when we think about refugee, for my generation, the group that comes to mind would be Vietnamese refugee, yeah, the boat people, because it was when we were in secondary school and it was like in the news every other week or every other day, yeah. So the word refugee, for me, it brings up the imagery of those boat people who were escaping, yeah. And then there were those who were later on escaping from, let's say, like the Bosnia conflict. Then they were fleeing that place. But today, if you were to ask those who are maybe in their teens or in their 20s, if you ask them 10 years later, they may think about, let's say, the refugees escaping from the Middle Eastern countries, Syria, escaping and so on. Yeah. So, as an English word, the word refugee refers to anyone who is seeking shelter, protection, refuge, yeah, and away from something, yeah. So seeking refuge, seeking shelter in something to protect against something else. Yeah. So when the translators chose this word, yeah, chose this word as a term to translate the word saranang, yeah, Buddhang saranang gacchami saranang, not sarangeya, yeah, saranang. They use this word. Whereas for Chinese, what is the word we use? 皈依. I'm going to use the so in the Pali term or Sanskrit term, I mentioned the term earlier, saranang. So saranang can be briefly translated as refuge. But there's another term that is linked to refuge. Yeah? It is what we often start off reciting. Namo tassa, yeah, namo. Now usually the word namo we translate this as homage. But in fact, this term has three meanings. One is homage, the other one is refuge, and the last is to turn towards. And in Chinese, we transliterate as Nanwu, or more correctly, because of the way it's pronounced, we just read it as Namo. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. So, in the Tang Dynasty, you asked me, right? So, are you ready? Yeah, the whole morning we were having I was having a field trip with telling the youth, are you ready? So these two characters were used. In some other translations, they actually use some other characters. But in this case, if you read this in Hokkien, yeah, Hokkien, how do you read this? Huh? Huh? Hokkien. Okay, how do you read this word in Hokkien? Lam. Lam. Then this? Bo, sin mo. Nambo. Yeah, so transliteration transliteration is not an exact pronunciation. It is a close approximation of the original sound. Yeah? I mentioned in other classes, such as the Heart Sutra, words such as Buddha. Yeah? Transliterate to佛, but the full term is佛陀. And again,佛陀, Buddha doesn't sound quite alike. In Hokkien, how do you read this? Put To, yeah, not Puto, Amitahut. Yeah, Put To. So Put To is still not Buddha. Why? Because Buddha, the root term is Buddha, and then in plural is Buddha, singular, Buddho. Yeah, the singular form of Buddha is Buddho. Yeah, so a lot of grammar involved. Yeah, as I learned Pali years back, I start to appreciate that, wow, our early masters, they were really good. Yeah. They didn't just do a translation or transliteration. When they did transliteration, they even considered grammar. Yeah, so it was not a trivial thing. Now, so back to the whole concept of refuge, I want to take a step back from Buddhism again and consider and ask you all, with all this meaning involved, what is a source of refuge for you when you were before 5 years old? Yeah, 1 to 5 years old. What was a source of refuge? Who gave you protection? Who gave you shelter? Huh? Parents. Yeah? For some others, for some young kids nowadays, it will be the maid. Yeah? Or the childcare center. Yeah? But for most people, it is the parents. Yeah? And then depending on whom you are closer to, then it may be mother or father. Yeah, so either mother or father would be the source of refuge. In fact, I recall that I've ever encountered situations where when I'm terrified, I'll just shout, "Ma!" Yeah, the very, very spontaneous response, you know, when you're frightened, then you just call out the one person you've been calling out to. Yeah. But this is only usually in the early stage of our life. Yeah? Then from maybe 5 to, let's say, 10 years old, then we may rely on something else. Who do you think in your childhood, from 5 to 10 years old, you start to rely on besides your parents? 5 to 10? Our teachers, yeah. What do we, compared to our parents, what do we depend on, rely on them for? Huh? Huh? Education, of course, right? Do you depend on your parents, on your teachers for pocket money? No, huh? Anyone's teacher give you pocket money? Wow. Huh? The teacher also have the what? Along. Oh. Wow. Okay. So, refuges. We have our parents, and then we have our teachers. Who else? Who else do we depend on? Our friends. Someone mentioned Amma. Some of us may depend on our grandparents. Yeah? Who depends on your Amma? Who? Some of you. Yeah? So some of us may depend on our grandparents. In school, do you depend on your grandparents? I know some of you maybe still depend on your grandparents in school. In school, maybe, when you're in school, do you depend on your grandparents? So when you're in the school already, your grandmother go around. They say, Amma, this is how why soon as style. I hope not, huh? Oh. Call Amma. Oh, I said something. So some of us continue to depend on our grandparents. Wow, poor thing are these grandparents. Uber delivery. Yeah. In what situations do we depend on our friends? In what situations? Homework. Copy homework. How about copy test? Let me tell you all, there was once in my life, only once, one time, I think it was a test or something, and I copied when I peeped at one. I'll be honest with you. Probably, maybe, was it primary or secondary school? But that one time, and I only look at one question, and then that guy got it wrong. I also got it wrong. Yeah, that was the one and only time. Never again. Myself guess myself. So yeah. So sometimes when we depend on our friends, they can only help us to their best ability. Yeah, we call our grandparents sekali. Okay, nowadays kids, I don't know your time. Your amma read English or not? Or not you lah? You see until as though like you last time call your amma. Oh, right. Just now when she said like macam my amma lah steady on. So I was thinking like, wow, amma is good, huh? Nowadays amma bilingual. Yeah, amma, can you bring the maths textbook? Oh, Emacs. Okay. Yeah. If your amma don't understand English, then you ask them to bring a textbook. Then they bring the whole library. Yeah. So whether it's grandparents or friends, they may have some limitations as to what extent you can depend on them. Yeah. Parents and teachers, they play slightly different roles. Yeah. Are there others whom we depend on or go for refuge, protection, or help? Anytime. So from 10 to maybe 30 years old. Yeah, those of you who are still below 30, then your life, I have covered your whole life. Yeah, so who else do you depend on? Our spouse. Our spouse start to come in. Yeah. So those of you who are married, how many of you are married? Raise your hand. So, can you depend on your spouse? Okay, don't answer the question. When people get married, why do people get married? You know, like, your spouse is kind of like a special friend, isn't it? You know? Like, yeah, it's a special friend. The friend who cannot quite say, don't friend you, cannot divorce, you know? Yeah. Like normal friends, you just don't friend you. Normal friends, you just don't call. Normal friends call you, cancel. Yeah. This is a special kind of friend. Yeah. So, in the case of spouse, friends, teachers, grandparents and parents. Can you choose your grandparents and parents? You can't quite choose. How about teachers? Yes and no. Because once you choose the school, then you can't quite choose the teachers usually. Yeah. So you choose the teachers by choosing the school. Yeah. And then at some stage, when you're in university, then you choose your professor as well, as much as they choose whether they want to mentor you. Yeah. How about friends? Friends, you choose each other. Yeah. It's not that you want that person to be your friend, then the person must be your friend. It's a two-way thing. How about spouse? You, me, get married, come. Yeah. This is not the Flintstone anymore. Man, woman, go. Yeah, no more, huh? So, spouses, people choose each other to some extent, and perhaps a large extent. The intent is, relying on each other. Yeah, relying on each other. But again, even for spouses, there may be a limitation as to how much our spouse can give to us, how much they can do it, whether it's a matter of their ability or their wish. Yeah. So beyond all this, who else? Is there anybody else whom we go for refuge? When we fall sick, who do we go for refuge? Doctors, isn't it? When we are young and we fall sick, we go to our parents. Yeah, they may go to bring us to the doctor or not. Yeah, like the baby. Oh la. Yeah. Oh, mommy's touch, man. Say, mommy, bring over. Okay. Can't really tell whether he's crying or laughing. Huh? Can you not tell whether he's crying or laughing? He's laughing and crying. It's like, okay, should I cry or should I laugh? So, when we fall sick as a toddler, without a choice, our parents tend to us. As we grow older, between maybe 4 plus 5 to up to primary school, we may still go to our parents for help. Even when we are a teenager, we probably still go to our parents. In fact, for some of us, even when we are in our 20s, we fall sick, we may still go to our parents. Usually, by the time we get married, those of you whom you get married, when you fall sick, do you still call up your mom and say, "Ma, what's your?" I'm having fever. What do you do? Usually, by the time you're an adult, you're a working adult. When you fall sick, you go to the doctor, get MC. So doctors. So you have a whole series, of different professionals. Doctors, you go to them for medical refuge. Police for security. What else? If you need to sue someone, or someone sue you, you go to a lawyer. You don't come to Sifu. Although there are some students who got into legal cases, they actually consult me also. Initially, they consult me more for spiritual counsel, to help them have a peace of mind. But usually I don't stop there. I also ask them about the case. Then sometimes I manage to actually shed some light for them, but not always. So of all the different kinds of refuges, they may offer different kind of support. And depending on their own ability, the different sources may give us varying levels of sometimes comfort, sometimes help, sometimes help us to solve the problem, sometimes to guide us. So then we come to Buddhist refuge. In Buddhism, what are the kind of refuges in Buddhism? In Buddhism, what are the refuges in Buddhism? So obvious that you are like stunned. I was like, this must be a very chim question. Sifu always asks simple questions. So what are the refuges? The Buddha, and then the Dharma, and the Sangha. So this is what we call the triple gem. Yeah, triple gems. So why are they called gems? The term gem or treasure, the three treasure or the three gems, is called this way to describe how these three are precious, these three are of great immense value, yeah, and are rare. Yeah. The term gems are chosen for that purpose. So in Buddhism, for any new person who choose to become a Buddhist, the first step is taking refuge. Yeah, the first step, strictly speaking, is to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. But when we say take refuge, then there is perhaps two levels of meaning. The first level is to go through the ceremony, yeah, to go through the ceremony of taking refuge. The second level would be to actually really take refuge in these three things. Yeah. So let's go through the first level first. Yeah. The first level involves the ceremony where individuals may express the intent and desire to a community, a temple, or some individual monk or nun. Yeah. So in the different traditions, they may have different ways of doing it. In some cases, then they would actually organize a one-to-one refuge ceremony. Yeah. So like in the Theravadan tradition, when you go to a temple and ask for refuge, they will usually like, now? Yeah. They usually don't have to wait for a special day. Yeah. You go to any Sri Lankan, Thai, maybe Myanmar's temple also. Almost any time you go there, you ask for refuge, then they'll say, okay, come, bow down 3 times. Then after, repeat after me. Yeah, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Repeat. Then after, they will repeat the verses. Basically the ones that we have recited. Sometimes they may include some opening verse, yeah, where you formally request for the refuge. Yeah, but beyond that, the standard verses are there. So in and out, maybe half an hour, boom, you're Buddhist, off you go. Yeah. Then if you go to Chinese temple, elaborate. Yeah. After all, we are Li Yi Zibang. Yeah. We are people of ethics. Yeah. Etiquette. Etiquette more correctly. Yeah. We place much value on the expression of things. Yeah. So it's not such a trivial thing. Yeah, we must make sure that you're really serious about it. You're sincere about it. You see, the baby agree. Yeah. So commonly in the Chinese temple, they would have annual ceremonies. Yeah, the larger temples. The smaller temples, they may also organize, but maybe on a less frequent basis. And usually it's en masse. Yeah. So rarely do you have just one person. Usually in a certain number of people. And then before the ceremony, there will be a stage where they teach you how to put on the robes and so on and so forth. And the whole ceremony can take between 1.5 hours to 2 hours or even more. Yeah, rather elaborate. So some people have asked me, do I have to go through that? Is it compulsory? Yeah. What is the purpose? And so on and so forth. So often those people who ask this, they usually feel like it's not necessary. Yeah. People who ask this question usually think it's not necessary. Yeah. And then they will say, I ask them like, why do you think it's not necessary? So then they usually will say that, well, because at the end of the day, isn't it more important to learn the teachings and practice? Yeah. And if I'm already doing that, I attend your class, ma. Yeah. And then I'm learning the precepts, ma. Then I attend meditation class, ma. Then why must I go through a ceremony? So if anybody tell you this, then ask them this question. So, you really think there's no difference? And that's why I ask them. And sometimes they will answer that, yeah, no difference. So then, this is where you double confirm again. You really don't think there's any difference. You want them to really commit to it, and say that, no, there's no difference. Once they bite and they say, yeah, absolutely no difference. The more certain they are, the better. Then you go for the kill. I mean, not figuratively speaking. Don't kill them, okay? Then you tell them, if there's no difference, then why are you resisting? You see, the funny thing is that as much as they say that there's no difference, but they're quite adamant on not going through the ceremony. So there is a difference to them. Yeah? As far as they are concerned, there is a difference. Not that there's no difference. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, I really don't think there's a difference. Because going by the principle, if you think about it, the Buddha in his last life, I mean the one that we know of, he didn't even take refuge. He didn't even meet a Buddha in his last life. But he attained enlightenment himself. That's why he's called a Buddha. If he met a Buddha, then he'll be called an Arahant. Or only an Arahant. Yeah? That's the very definition of Samma Sambuddha. Yeah? A perfectly enlightened being who attained enlightenment on his own. Yeah? So from his own example, we know that going through a ceremony is, strictly speaking, not a prerequisite. But before you run off and then text the whole world and say, Venerable Changguan says, well, then tonight I will get lots of phone call and messages say, we need to have a talk. So what am I saying? What is Sifu saying here? So going by the principle, yeah, you really don't need to. Not just the what do you call it? Not just the, oh, someone going out already, going to text. It's not just the ceremony, Yeah, I'm even saying you technically don't have to have met the Buddha, yeah, but only if you have the qualities of the Bodhisattva, like the Buddha before he attained enlightenment. If you are able to somehow practice to the point where you are like the Buddha before he attained enlightenment, and then you don't even have to take refuge. Or if you reach the stage like how Venerable Sariputra and Venerable Mahamoggallana is like just before Venerable Sariputra met Venerable Asaji, then you don't need to take refuge also. Because Venerable Sariputra, before he even meet the Buddha, before he even take any refuge or ceremony for that matter, there wasn't a ceremony. He just heard one verse. 此有故彼有，此无故彼无。我佛大三门，常作如是说。Boom, Sotapanna. Sotapanna. Every week we recite Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Well, recite until you all can memorize. We don't have to play. You don't have the slides anymore. Yeah. How? Anybody? Sotapanna. Maybe we should be reciting something else instead. Maybe we should be reciting 此有故彼有，此无故彼有. Keep reciting until one day, hey! So what is this about? This to say, because we are at different starting ground, and this different starting ground is not an inequality that we impose on people. It's just that we start on a different ground. Yeah? We are all just at different stages of the path. Yeah? It's not a systematic and structural enforcement. Yeah? It's just that we are at different stages of the slide. Yeah? Going down the slide, or going up, if you will. So it's just like in school. I'm sure many of you have one such classmate who don't seem to study, but always get the top score. Yeah? Okay, maybe you all don't have. Or maybe you are the one. Yeah? And maybe that one boy or one girl, yeah, study like crazy at home. Then come to school, don't have to study lah. But you don't know, you see. So then, but seeing that example, we may wrongly conclude that you don't need to study to get good score. Yeah. Similarly, if we just take the Buddha as an example, his disciples as an example, we may wrongly conclude that we don't have to take at all. Yeah, we don't have to take refuge as well. But in the Buddha's time, how were refuges administered? In the Buddha's time, there was no formal refuge-taking ceremony. No ceremonies. Strictly speaking, no ceremony. Yes, you agree? Okay, got it? Yeah? Alright, yeah, that's true as well. That's true as well. So, in the Buddha's time, what usually happens before refuge taking is this. Usually, whether it's a lay person or an ascetic, or perhaps even a Brahmin, yeah, they would chance upon the Buddha. They would hear of the Buddha, and they will hear this report being said, that there is this ascetic Gautama. It is said about him that he is a blessed one, an arahant, a perfectly enlightened one, that he is a knower of the world, he is teacher of gods and men, that he is tamer of man, that he is able to enlighten, to teach, to guide. Yeah, he is a Buddha, an awakened one. And after hearing this, okay, let's check him out. Okay, maybe not in those exact words. If we look at Kalama Sutta and many other suttas, that's more or less what they say, like, let's go and ask him some questions. Sometimes it is not to seek counsel. Sometimes it's to go and challenge him. Yeah? Because sometimes it is from other schools and they want to come and ask him difficult questions. And they send their brightest student to go and challenge the Buddha to try to defeat him. In all these different scenarios, they would go to see him and then they would pose their questions. Sometimes there are bystanders who happen to listen and then they become convinced. Sometimes it's the person who asks the question who become convinced, but not all. There are those who, after having the conversation, they decide that, like that, and then they just walk off. In many sutras, we see the ending part. Yeah? 欢喜信受作礼而去. Yeah? That they rejoice and accept the teachings, and then they make, they pay reverence, and then they go off. Yeah, but not all the time. Some of them, the sutta end with, and so did not delight in the teachings, in what was said, and he left. And in some suttas, such as the Piya Jatika Sutta, it even says, and this man did not take delight in the Buddha's words, yeah, and then he left. Leaving, he went to the market and found some gamblers and related the whole conversation to them. And the gamblers, after hearing it, also didn't delight in it, and they all spread this around. How can this ascetic Gautama say such things, that suffering and sorrow arise from those who are dear to us? And so there are suttas where people don't agree, and of course, in such cases, at that point, when they don't delight, then they don't take refuge. But when they do delight, when they do find that the Buddha's words are convincing, that they manage to have their doubts clarified, then they would say this, more or less this formula. Wonderful, wonderful. The Blessed One has clarified what was doubtful, turned over what was set up right, what was turned over, brought light to darkness, given sight to a blind person, and so on and so forth. All kinds of description, Yeah. And then, with that, they would oftentimes conclude with a statement, may the Blessed One consider me as his lay disciple, in the case of lay person, from this day until the end of my life. And then it would say that the Blessed One, referring to the Buddha, agreed in silence. So when you ask the Buddha, if you ever encounter the Buddha in future life, and you ask, don't wait for the Buddha to say yes or no. From what we see from the sutta, he usually don't say yes, no. He will just agree. If he don't agree, he will say something. If he don't say something, he probably means he agree. Sifu is not necessarily like that. Sifu, the default is no. Unless I explicitly say yes or no. If I don't say anything, it means I don't say anything. Yeah. One day if I attain Buddhahood, then you encounter me, you forgot about this conversation, then please consider the lunch offering. Then oh, thank you. Thank you. Wait, I haven't said agree. In the Buddha's time, the Buddha would agree in silence. By just maintaining silence, it means he agreed. Yeah. And that's it, no? That's it. You just say to the Buddha, may the Blessed One consider me as a lay disciple from this day until the end of my life. For those who are ascetics, they will just say, may the Blessed One consider me as a disciple from this day until the end of your life. Yeah. And that's it. No elaborate ceremony, no booking, no mass arrangement, The difference, so in fact, sometimes the formula is identical between lay and monastic. The difference is that if the person requesting to be a disciple is an ascetic or Brahmin, sometimes they will include the verse saying, may the Blessed One allow me to go forth. Yeah. And in the Chinese translation, the Buddha just say, 善来比丘. Yeah. Come, bhikkhu. Once the Buddha call you a bhikkhu, you are a bhikkhu. And despite it's a bit quite miraculous, it is said that once he make that declaration, the hair just drop off by itself. Amitofo. Hey, don't laugh. I don't know whether it's true. Because very few, I almost never encounter any part that describe the Buddha shave. They never describe. So there are some commentaries that say, and in our oral transmission, right, we say that, in the past when the Buddha was still doing the ordination himself, once he says, 善来比丘, gone. Steady. Yeah. Now at some point, the Buddha stopped accepting monks directly. Yeah. Why? Because there were many monks already and has spread to different parts of India. Yeah. So after Prince Yasa established with his companions, 60 monks, forming the larger Sangha, then the Buddha told them to go to different parts of India. Yeah. Taking an elephant each, and wherever the elephant stop, they shall teach there. Yeah, and then later on, the Buddha, still laughing about the hair fall. Yes. Stop buying hair tonic. Just come and 善来比丘. So, by the time Buddhism has spread throughout India, then at some point, the Buddha allowed the Sangha to ordain new monks, on his behalf. So until today, when we go for higher refuge, the higher ordination, or even novice ordination, it is conducted in proxy of the Buddha. So whether it's for lay people or monastics, all the ceremonies are actually conducted in proxy of the Buddha. That means, and that's why we keep on highlighting to you all, we are administering the refuge and and the precept, yeah, on behalf of the Buddha. Yeah. So the verse that we read, 我今学佛出家. Yeah. When we recite, we all together recite 南无本师释迦牟尼佛. So in Buddhism, it's a very flat structure. Yeah. All are Buddha's disciple. But with that, then it also means that refuge taking is not simply just going through a ceremony and then collecting a souvenir pack, yeah, and then with your photo inside, passport, yeah, and then with that, when you pass away, you put it inside. Make sure when you go for cremation, you put that inside. You don't put that inside, sorry, your passport didn't go through. You need to put it in. That is a myth. That is a myth, okay? I mean, that's a nice feel-good factor, you know. It's like, hey, I got my passport. But, yeah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. When we take refuge, whether you get a card or not, whether you get a Dharma name or not, I see a lot of people nowadays, yeah. Long time ago, I also have my Dharma name. But throughout my whole life, I never use it. Except when I go for some retreats, then they ask for Dharma name. Then what's my name? Then I write down. Ming? Yeah, 名字辈. Yeah, 名字辈的. Yes. But nowadays, I see some, they got Pali name. They go to Theravada Center. Then you look at the name, you don't know it's a Chinese. Chinese. Or Chinese, then Metta something, Kema something, like some common names. So far, I haven't encountered anyone call themselves Sariputra. I tell you, don't waste your time. One shot, Sakyamuni Buddha. Yes. Have to change the name. I have to inform NRO. Well, so these are things I want to clarify. Okay, in the Buddha's time, strictly speaking, there weren't new Dharma names given. Venerable Sariputra, the name Sariputra, it basically means son of Sari. Sari e kia la. Yeah, Sariputra is basically Sari e kia. His mother's name was Sari, named after a bird whose eyes is very beautiful. Yeah, because the mother, when she was born, eyes are very beautiful, just like the bird's eyes. Yeah, I mean not the person like the bird's eye, but the eyes. Yeah. So the concept of giving Dharma name came later. Yeah, it happened for all the different traditions, but it came later. Yeah. Now, don't be mistaken. Again, second thing, don't go out. First thing, tell people, Venerable Chuang Guan said, don't need to go for refuge taking. I didn't say that. Unless if you are confident, you cultivate it until you're like the Buddha before he attained enlightenment, then okay, I can tell you, no need. Whether you go or not, no difference. Yeah. Second, if you are like Venerable Sariputra, no problem. Okay. But most of us, how many of us like that? Yeah. Then the other thing is, don't go around telling people, Venerable Chuang Guan also said second thing, Dharma name no need one. Yes and no. Yeah, so if you go for Tibetan refuge, then come back become Tenzin Gyatso. Yeah, that's actually my Tibetan name, a long time ago. No, mine is Thupten Gyatso, not Tenzin Gyatso. Yeah, Thupten Gyatso. Yeah, Ayo, you want to have as many names as you can. Yeah. What is your Chinese name? Ru Li. Give you one name. 来，你要什么名字？给，什么？给。 Oh, okay. Yeah, lah. I can give you one more. You want? I give you 3. Huh? Okay, then keep long. So when you go for 5 precept, you are going for 5 precept, not the name. So just go and take 5 precept. Don't take a name. They can give. You don't have to take. It's just like small kid go to school. People give you nickname. You don't have to take the nickname. Okay, bro? Yes. But then in that case, what is the purpose for the Dharma name? What is the purpose? Think about it. It's related to what I just mentioned. When small kids tease each other, when they tease each other, do they give them a nice name to use? No, they give them like some a kind of embarrassing name lah. Like, come give me one. I mean, not give me lah, but say one. Apui, let's say Apui. Okay, Apui. Yeah. So, when someone call a boy or girl Apui, is it to remind him or her that he or she is slim and very handsome, very cute? No. It's to make him feel embarrassed. It's to remind him that you remind us of Apui. So, that's the purpose of name, in a way. Yeah. So when different people use the name, they give the name or use the name for different purposes. So when we are given a Dharma name, it also serves similarly a purpose. And in this case, the purpose is to remind us of our conviction, our resolution at that point in time when we decided that we want to become the Buddha's disciple. By taking refuge, we are basically saying we want to become a disciple of the Buddha. 佛弟子. Yeah. Today we use the term Buddhist. Yeah, Buddhist. But in fact, who is a Buddhist? A Buddhist is basically, or more correctly, the arrow should be pointing this way. Who is a Buddhist? Buddhist is a disciple of the Buddha. So it's no longer about the ceremony or no ceremony. But the ceremony, for many people, the ceremony helps to cement our conviction. Conviction in what sense? Conviction in saying, while we have in present life, last week anybody bump into the Buddha? No, nobody have coffee with the Buddha or anything. Have lunch? Anybody have lunch with Buddha? No. Yeah, people last time they can say, hey, you know who I bumped into last week? Buddha leh. Last week I tell you, I was at Gucha Chui, hey, Buddha, hey, Buddha. Now cannot. Now, not so lucky. Last time people can say, hey, brother, last week I was at Kosala, Kosala City. You know who I bumped into? Gautama Buddha, I tell you. Nowadays we can't say that. Yeah. As a result, our closeness to the Buddha is not so strong. And because we cannot personally encounter the Buddha, we cannot have that kind of conversation that I described earlier. Or you talk to the Buddha talk to you, answer your questions, clarify your doubts, and then, wow, I want to be your disciple. Cannot. Yeah? And then, if you kneel down here and talk to Buddha, please consider me as your disciple until the end of life. Buddha also don't reply. Huh? So agree. Yeah. So far, so agree. Yeah. So when we say we want to become a disciple of the Buddha, going through the refuge taking ceremony helps to reinforce our conviction, because we never have that personal contact before in this life. Yeah. So while we, in our mind, some people never encounter the Buddha, but indirectly encounter the Buddha through the Dharma. Through the Dharmas. That means the teaching. In fact, the Buddha's time, people take refuge in the Buddha mainly because of the Dharma as well. Because when they ask him the question, all those questions and answers become the sutta that we read now. For them it is first hand, Yeah, it is not thus have I heard. It is, Buddha now, directly. Yeah. In our present time, we go through the Buddhist text, we go through YouTube, we come for SGC, and then we listen, then, this Sifu quite good. I want to take refuge in him. Then you come and see, Sifu, can I take refuge in you? Then Sifu, what will Sifu say? No, not take refuge in me, or take refuge in the Buddha. Why do we say that? Because of this whole structure. Yeah? You never take refuge in just one Sifu. In Buddhism, lagi best or no? You take refuge one time worldwide. Ours is a global, not just Earth, universe, the whole universe. Any Buddhist elsewhere, all Sangha in all universe, all automatically become your refuge one time. Buddhas in the past, present, future, all bao ka liao. Yeah, anywhere you travel, after this life, you go to other places. If you still remember. So, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. When you take refuge in the Buddha as our teacher, then teacher, of course, is to teach us something, the Dhamma. Yeah, that's why you cannot just take refuge in the Buddha without the Dhamma. Yeah, without Dhamma, the Buddha said, pointless, In fact, in many cases, the Buddha kept on pointing us to see the Dhamma. He who sees the Buddha should see the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma would see the Buddha. So, even in the Pali Canon, this equating between the Buddha and Dhamma started. Yeah, the Buddha did this to draw people to the Dhamma. Yeah, why? Because there were many people with strong affinity with him. Yeah, but if he were to allow them to just to have affinity towards him as a person, just this, it doesn't help them. So he keep on directing them to the Dhamma. Yeah. Then how about the Sangha? Yeah. Buddha is like a doctor, Dhamma is like medicine. And in the Buddha's own words, the Sangha is like the nurses to help administer the teachings. Yeah. So the Sangha is typically referring to the community of monks and nuns. Yeah? But there's also another definition of Sangha, the Aryan Sangha, those who are enlightened, which may or may not be part of the monastic Sangha. Yeah? So together, this forms our refuge. Yeah? Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Yeah. And in this case, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, they provide refuge for what? Refuge against what? To protect us from what? Providing a refuge in samsara, against suffering. To provide and give us a way, a path to end suffering. It may not teach us how to do well in exams, Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, but through some of the practices, a person's mind may be clearer, calmer, and so be able to do the exams better. But you must still study the content subject matter. Yeah, if you don't study and just keep on Namo Hanai Dana Dona Ya Namo Li Pol, then you go to exam hall, then. Alright, everybody, please check your exam sheets. There should be 17 altogether. Please write your matriculation number on the exam sheets, today's date, Do not write your name. Those answer sheets with names will be void. The time is now 9:01. We will start now until 10:01. You may begin. Then you no, down there. No. And then somehow magically the exam scripts. Oh, then there's a lot of wind. Then Fopusa come out. Does it work that way? I don't think so. Yeah. If you don't study, you don't study. Yeah. If you don't study but you chant 大悲咒, then you will calmly look through the question and know that you don't know the answer. Yeah. So you know how sometimes after exams, right? Sometimes parents ask the child, how is the exam? Then the child, don't know. What am I don't know? Not sure. So did you do well or not? Not too sure. So not so good. Also not sure. But if you need 大悲咒, you go in, come out. How did you do? This time, how is it okay? Either A or B. Wow, so sure one. Yeah, clarity. But if you didn't study, come out. How? This time, confirm fail. The truth is, many people take refuge or become Buddhists, sometimes, to be honest, not for the most correct reason. Yeah. Just yesterday, there was one student sitting somewhere in front, mentioned about how she was in the plane and then she had very bad diarrhea or something. And then she recited this short verse. Oh, and it cured, no? Instant. Wow, I think, how many of you, if you encounter this yourself, you have a very bad stomach ache, your heart palpitation, heartache, headache, wow. And then you just chant, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme, or anything, and then it's cured, no? Would you not take refuge? Confirm take refuge. Correct? Wena? Huh? I know you all confirm take refuge, sure. So, but you, at this point, you may be wondering, but isn't that what some of the sutras say? If you are sick, you are in danger or what, then you recite, then you'll be safe. You know, there'll be protection given and so on and so forth. Right? Yeah, not just Pumanping, yes, Pumanping and many other places. Tabe Sing Tolo Ni Jing, Tabe, you know, a lot of places. But think about it. In the Buddha's time, the Buddha and his disciples went to see doctors. There were times where the whole company of monks, they all suffered from dysentery. Yeah, very bad stomach problem. Yeah, there were times where there were famine, and all the monks became gaunt. Yeah, why? Not enough food, not enough nutrient. Then they, and then there were two monks who and that's when Buddha said, 奇怪了，每个瘦逼巴的这两个，吃得好，住得好。Then he questioned them, and they honestly say, oh, we go and tell everybody, and monk A praised monk B, monk B praised monk A, and basically say, oh, wow, you know that monk, he's so good, so good, so good. So everybody, wow, with whatever little during the famine offered to him. Then while offering, then he said, wow, you all shouldn't just offer me. You know, the other monk also lagi better. Wow. Yeah. So the Buddha set down some rules. Cannot do this. Yeah. Cannot. Even if you have some attainment, not supposed to go around telling people. Otherwise, you know, 显易惑众. So the point is that if even the Buddha, when they are sick, yeah, when the Buddha is sick or his disciples are sick, they themselves see the doctor, then what more of us? And that's why those who have come to see me for counsel when they are not well and so on, the number one question I always ask people is, so have you seen the doctor? Some of them will like, what? Most people, when they come and see Shifu or see some venerables, they hope to get some miracle cure. Yeah. They may sheepishly go a bit around the bush, then ultimately, hey, Shifu, 可以帮我念经吗? Yeah. Oftentimes I will not just agree immediately. So they usually expect 15 minutes in, out, gone. Yeah. But usually they come in 2 hours, at least 2 hours. 1 hour and 45 minutes talking. then the chanting is only 15 minutes. If I even do the chanting. Why do I oftentimes refuse to do the chanting? Not because Sifu no power. No, I know that power. I know power. It's because, you see, if the problem is not a spiritual problem, and many times I'll tell you, in many of the cases, the problem is not spiritual. Some of the problems are the way they communicate with people. There were some devotees, they kind of tell me, oh, got communication, well, don't know, with the family members, this and that. Halfway through, I stopped the person and I said, do you notice something? I said, why, what, Sifu, what? Even when talking to Sifu, you keep interrupting me. Then what are the chances you will not do the same to your family members? Of course you're going to have communication problem. Nothing to do with spiritual. If you don't change your communication style, you're going to keep on having conflict with your family members. And the problem is, if Shifu just readily chant Da Bei Zhou, chant until Shifu no voice. But if you don't change your communication style, you continue to have problem. Many of our problems can and should be solved by changing ourselves. Why do you think the Buddha spent 45 years teaching? Think about it. Think about it. The Buddha didn't administer Da Bei Zhou for everything, you know. Yeah, and for that matter, if we really learn Da Bei Zhou, it is not the verses of chanting, you know. Da Bei Zhou, in the Da Bao Ji Jing inside, in one of the other texts, it describes, he who recite great compassionate mantra, he must cultivate and embody these 10 qualities, starting with having great loving kindness and great compassion. He must practice such that he has equanimity between friend and foe. He must, at a later stage, be able to contemplate on emptiness. If a person do all these 10, then he is considered to be reciting the great compassionate mantra. Now, if you learn the whole thing, then you realize, oh, no wonder Guan Yin菩萨say, he who recite this mantra, whatever he wants, his wish will be fulfilled. Of course, you cultivate in this way, of course, whatever you wish for will be wholesome and positive and can be fulfilled. Yeah. Buddhism is not a magical vending machine. You just come here, hi, welcome to Buddhism. For English, press 1. For Chinese, 使用华语请按2. Bahasa Melayu, tekan button. Tekan 3 button. Yeah. Then after that, 1. You have pressed 1. Welcome to Singapore. What is your wishes? Then please insert your oranges. Your wish for your children's PSLE requires 300 oranges. I'm sorry, man. I think a lot of people wish that Buddhism is like that, you know. Just go there, then and that's now just pay. But I'm sorry, man. Buddhism doesn't work that way. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So when we take refuge, you must have the proper understanding of what kind of refuge Buddhism gives us, the triple gem gives us. Just like if you go to your friend for medical support and your friend is not medically trained, your friend will try also. Yeah, try to give you advice based on their own, I don't know where it comes from, Yeah, then you keep on sharing good advice to you, all the fake website or whatever, then you get in trouble. So having the right understanding of what the Triple Gem is for is very important. Yeah, it doesn't give us the false pretense of a miracle that, oh, you just come and then give us, then we will solve all your problems. Yeah, some problems you can and probably need spiritual support. Yeah, but a huge chunk of our day-to-day problem in life can be solved through our own humanly possible effort and endeavor. Yeah, the trouble is, the funny thing is that, whenever people come to religion, not just Buddhism, yeah, we think of it as a magical vending machine. Yeah. So this would lead to right view. Yeah. Next week we'll touch on right view. Yeah. So that when we say we take refuge, what is the right understanding? What is the right view of things? Yeah. What is our angle, our attitude we should have towards Buddhism, towards this world? Okay. Any questions? Sorry. Okay. Who wants to go first? Okay.
Earlier on, this sister mentioned about she has taken refuge long ago.
Yes.
And then she talked about the 5 precepts refuge. Then I remember clearly that one of the sessions you talked about some people want to take refuge in Triple Gem and don't want to take refuge in the 5 precepts. Then you mentioned that isn't it taking refuge in the Triple Gem is like you also accept the 5 precepts because that's the teaching.
Exactly.
So to say that when you when I haven't taken my refuge yet, because I hesitate to say. I don't understand.
So what are you hesitating?
I'm hesitating in taking refuge.
You are hesitating in taking refuge.
Yeah, because I am not well prepared. I have very little knowledge of this religion. So after hearing in one of the sessions about it, I was wondering if I'm to take refuge, I take refuge in both.
In both.
In both.
The refuge, the 5 precepts.
But my fear is if I break, if I cannot uphold one or two of the 5 precepts.
Oh.
She says taking refuge. Okay, you are giving a Dharma name. It's just like you said, nickname. Then if you take the 5 precepts, you will have another nickname.
If you not really.
Sorry, not nickname. Refuge.
Dharma name. Okay, so let's just dissect one by one first. You may have more questions after that. So the first thing is, yes, when we take refuge, it includes the 5 precepts inside the Dharma. Now, but the thing is, many people do have this fear. Yeah, what fear? The fear that, oh, if I were to take the precepts, what if I break it? Hey, 师父，知法犯法，罪加一等。Yeah, the breaker of the rule that one knows, wow, double penalty. But don't worry. In the Buddha's time, there was a prince who had this idea. So when he asked the Buddha actually clarified for him, saying that no, it is still better if you take the precepts, even if you should break it in future. Yeah. And the Buddha gave this analogy. He said, it's like between two persons, one person is blind and the other person is with clear eyesight. Yeah? The person who is blind may accidentally touch something that is harmful, burning hot. But not knowing that it's burning hot, he may like reach out and hold very strongly. Yeah? And so in that time when he hold very strongly, he'll be burned badly. Whereas a person with clear eyesight, you see, you think I should be so hot, right? Go and hold for what? But maybe you accidentally touch. Yeah? At most, you accidentally touch. And even if you touch, you will quickly let go because, you know that you can see clearly. Yeah, so the Buddha refuted that prince's question or claim that it's better not to take the precepts in fear of breaking it. The Buddha's stand is better to take it. Yeah, even if you are doubtful, maybe you may break it, better to still take it. Why? So consider the precepts. Like now, in this room, it's very safe to walk around. Okay? But imagine if this room is filled with landmines. When you all walk around, did you all feel safe walking around just now? Before the session start? Huh? You all feel safe, right? Now, of course, there's no landmine. But imagine if now I tell you, actually, there's one landmine. Yeah? If I tell you, actually, there's one landmine along the path that is not covered by the cushion, then now when you think about it, it's like, oh, I have been walking back and forth. Oh, damn heng leh. Yeah? Very lucky, you know. Now, how many of you would ask me, hey, Shifu, wait, stop. Stop there. There's a landmine. Okay? Now, imagine, okay, just imagine, okay, if there's actually a landmine, yeah, in this path, would you continue to walk or would you ask Shifu where the landmine is? If there's really a landmine.
But do you know where the landmine is?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, then yeah, where's the landmine?
Would you like to take your chance and just walk anyway? I mean, you may just step on it.
If you know where the landmine is, then you can tell me.
Yeah. So you would want me to tell you. It's just to your right there. Just step forward. Take a step forward. Yeah. A bit to your left. She's like, what is this about? Okay, you're safe. Quick. Okay. So the precepts is something like that. You see, the precepts is basically highlighting those behaviors through our body and speech that would lead to much harm, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. So when the Buddha so-called set down the rules, he didn't just sit down after enlightenment with the 60 monks and say, hey, guys, going to have some lay disciples, you know. We better make some distinction. Can we think of some rules for them? It's not like that, you know. It is said that the Buddha, in his enlightenment, he saw his own past life. He was of this name, this clan, and so on. He saw others' past life. He saw countless past lives. Yeah, the past life of all sentient beings. And he saw how certain beings in this life or that life, when they acted in a certain way, then led to certain results. When they avoided certain actions and so on, then it led to some pleasant results. On this basis, he shared the first 4 precepts. The first 4, abstaining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and lying. And this is the basis why he shared this. Not just some arbitrary rule that he just, I don't think you should kill. Why? No, just don't kill, you know. Yeah, don't think it's a good idea. Why? I'm the Buddha. Yeah, it wasn't like that, okay? I mean, if it's like that, it'd be funny, right? Yeah, but it's not like that. Yeah, and in the suttas, he actually elaborated that, well, I saw that there were beings who, when they killed, steal, engaged in sexual misconduct or lied, yeah, at some point, then they suffered. Yeah, so it's just like the landmine. So then consider, if you are walking along the street, but you didn't know that there's landmine. If you don't know, then you may feel quite safe and la 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 la. Yeah? Occasionally you say, hey, how come like that? Why? Until one day someone say, hey, pass you a map. Yo, what is this? Oh, this is the map of landmines in our town. Like that. Last time I can walk anywhere, no. Now I can only walk this path and that path, the rest cannot walk. Yeah, that's landmine. But I've been walking that path, what? Yeah, you haven't stepped on it yet. This is how we should look at precepts. Precepts is not a restriction on our liberal rights. It is highlighting the potholes, the landmines that are dangerous. So now, as much as conceptually we may say, yeah, okay, but we may still feel like, on one hand, but sure not. If you're not sure, okay. But another angle to look at it is, these four precepts is all about harming people. So the joke I tell people is, once a student say, 师父, I need 1 more year. So I said, what you are really telling me is, you need 1 more year because you want to harm people for 1 more year. So are you done with harming people?
It's more like you say, the first precept is no killing, right? But I don't like pests, you see.
You don't like pests?
Pest, P.
Yeah, I know, pest.
Pest.
You don't like pest. So, if someone don't like us, should they just kill us?
If they're outside my house, it's okay.
I see. If they're outside your house, it's okay. So if someone that you don't like come into your house, does it make it okay for you to kill them?
Because I have this thinking, well, pests, they have their lifespan, you see. So if I'm to kill,
Then?
pests,
Uh-huh.
like,
You also have lifespan, what?
Yeah. My human lifespan longer.
Yeah, to heavenly beings is shorter. So how? Can heavenly beings just come around and just, you, like, can or not?
Now when I start before, just go.
There are many different angles to look at the various precepts. Yeah, at the core of it is this principle. The principle of how to recognize that all sentient beings cherish our lives. Yeah, you cherish your life. She cherished her life. He cherished his life. All living creatures tremble at the threat of harm, of death. If we do not want to be threatened, why should we threaten others? If we do not want to be harmed, what gives us the right to harm others? Simply because we are bigger? Simply because this is our house? This is my house. I mean, yes, there is a certain logic. Yeah, you do establish certain rules. So at least it's not on a whim. Yeah? But the question is, how do we communicate that to the ants, to the cockroaches? If you manage to communicate that to them, like you manage to talk to the cockroach, yeah, and it basically translates to, please don't come around, I don't like you guys. If you come again, I'll kill you. Yeah? If you manage to communicate to them, and then they communicate back, and then it basically like, well, bite me. Then okay. Still not okay lah. But we are not even able to do that, you know. So it boils down to a very simple question. Do we think that we are superior simply because we are bigger? Simply because we are stronger? Simply because we... Oh, is that a cockroach? Simply because we are able to kill, I can, so I do it. Does it make it right? If that is correct, then it means that throughout history, all the wars are justified. Then it means that in the past, where we call the pre-civilization era, where people just use violence to get whatever they want. It means that now, today, if we go by that principle, and you go out on the street, and someone just come to you with a knife and threaten your life, either give everything you have to that person, or you'll be stabbed to death, then we should have no qualms about that. Then we should be saying, should have bought a bigger knife. Yeah? We choose to live in civil society because we decided, yeah, that's a better way to live than everybody just threatening each other with bigger knives. So do we want to live in that way? Or do we want to live in a more civilized, if you will, but even more importantly, a compassionate life? Yeah. So think about it. In Buddhism, we don't compel people to make this choice or that choice. Yeah? But it boils down, again, we come back to this again. If we say that we are a disciple of the Buddha, and of course, maybe that's why some people say, oh, I'm not a disciple, I'm not so compassionate. Remember, a disciple of the Buddha is not the Buddha yet. Yeah? Which is the last thing I want to point out today. Sometimes people are afraid of telling others that they are Buddhists or formally becoming a Buddhist because they are afraid that others will judge them, will say, Buddhist like that one. If anybody ever tell you this statement, Buddhist like that one, then say, yeah, Buddhist like that one, not Buddha what? Put your palms together. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛，起立。